Obama-o? Obama-os? What is this? Hey, Jarek here, and in my quest to cover every game imaginable that may be vaguely compared to Stalker before I talk about Stalker, today I'm going to be covering a game called Anarchy: Wolf's Law. In all reality, it's more like Tarkov meets PUBG with Stalker's atmosphere, kind of, but unique enough on its own to talk about. I don't know, I've been looking at this game for a long time. Curiosity got the better of me, so I decided, let's cover it. Yes, I will cover Stalker eventually, I promise you that. But before I talk about Stalker, I need to talk about Anarchy: Wolf's Law. Well, I don't actually need to, I just want to. And before I want to cover Anarchy: Wolf's Law, I do need to talk about today's sponsor, IntoTheAM. I say need, but I actually kind of want to do this. These shirts have kind of become like my sweatpants of t-shirts around the house. They're incredibly comfortable, except for they also look good, so I like wearing them out to go get food or go to the store. Like, I do genuinely like these shirts. I say that all the time, I don't know how to make it sound genuine, but I take so many integrations from them because they're actually good products. They also have a deal where you can get 3 basic tees for $45 or 3 graphic tees for $60. And if you go to IntoTheAM.com/dragonshirts, you can get 10% off site-wide, which stacks on top of these deals. But what if you don't want a t-shirt? Maybe you want a tank top or, you know, a hoodie, something like that. Well, that website has them too. They have more than just those two, by the way. All of these clothes are incredibly soft. I've been wearing them since last year, and they've kept that softness no matter how much I've washed them. They have no tag to scratch the back of your neck, and they have a bunch of really cool graphic designs that you've been seeing this whole time. So hey, big thanks goes to IntoTheAM for sponsoring this channel, and again, if you would want some of these for yourself, go to IntoTheAM.com/dragonshirts, or just click that link down below in the video information or pinned comment. Okay, so what is Anarchy: Wolf's Law? Well, I called it a mixture of Tarkov meets PUBG with some Stalker atmosphere, and that's kind of accurate, but it doesn't really feel like any of those games directly. It's also a single-player game, although there is multiplayer. I will talk about that later. Let's start with the story. There is none. Yeah, this is more of a survival scavenging game. There wasn't really any story built up here. With that said, there is some atmospheric storytelling. While you don't ever have to deal with anomalies or anything radioactive, clearly something went wrong here. You've entirely abandoned buildings, you have mutants that will occasionally chase after you, and despite this game being in early access, it does a pretty decent job pulling this atmosphere off well. But that's all I have to go off of. There's no notes to read throughout the environment, there's no cutscenes, there's no dialogue aside from some angry NPCs yelling at you. And while that stuff would be nice to have, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of a who cares situation, because that was not this game's goal. Moving on to this PC release, however, it's actually okay. All the settings you would expect to find are here, yes, including an FOV slider. I played this game for almost 5 hours straight and it never once crashed on me. The frame rate stayed stable at max settings. I only had a few situations where the frame rate dropped and then never saw it again. However, there is one really big problem. You can't turn off motion blur. Well, you can, kind of. It's another one of those games where it ties motion blur to post-processing effects. Why? If you want to play with no motion blur, you have to make this game look like ass. The only way to turn it off is to put post-processing too low. Anything above that has motion blur. I don't know why games keep doing this. Let us turn motion blur off, please. It's especially annoying because, like I said, the rest of the game is actually good as far as a PC release goes. Graphically, this game isn't exactly up to date, but it's also an early access indie game that's only $15 on Steam that was made by one person. In that regard, it actually looks pretty good. Well, yes, the textures are a bit outdated, and this looks like a game that came from like 2012, if that. It still is polished enough to not pull me out of the experience. It doesn't look or feel like an early access asset flip game. Like I said, the atmosphere almost gave me Stalker vibes. Part of that has to do with the somewhat stiff animations and what enemies are shooting at you, but you get my point. Like, yeah, this looks bad graphically by 2022 standards, but not in this context. What I'm saying is it doesn't look nor feel like a bad asset flip. It feels like an actual game. But that leaves out the most important question: how does it play? What's the gameplay? What's the point of this game? Well, this game throws you out into this open map with just an M9. There is some basic resources you need to take care of, but there's so little you don't really need to worry about them. You need to keep yourself warm, you need to drink water, and you need to eat food. You can see how hungry or thirsty or cold you are in the bottom left. Staying warm was such a non-issue that I literally never went below like 80%, if that. So I didn't even think about that one. Not being hungry or dehydrated, on the other hand, still was really slow. In fact, I forgot these even existed pretty frequently and then had to quickly find something to eat or drink like 40 minutes later. At one point, I forgot entirely. I was at the far edges of the map and I was scrounging around everywhere trying to find water or beer or something to drink, and there was just nothing. Building. Okay, this should have water in it, right? Something to drink, beer, anything? There better be something up here. Wow, how useless. Look how much water I need. However, these mutant enemies kept attacking me, and occasionally they would drop vodka, because of course they would, you are in Russia after all. Anyway, vodka has interesting properties. Vodka actually dehydrates you, but it makes you feel warmer, makes you feel a little more full, and replenishes some of your health. When that thirst or hunger meter goes to 0, you start slowly losing health. Since my thirst meter was already at 0 and I had a lot of vodka, I just kept drinking vodka to stay alive. Oh yes, the classic Russian way. Anyway, I eventually traveled far enough to grab some beer so I could hydrate myself. As if you can't already tell, you're going to get some stories out of this game, and that's generally the best experiences you can get in gaming. These experiences are going to be custom tailored per person, because as soon as you're dropped onto this map, you can go in any direction and find yourself in any sort of situation. Now, the main goal is to take over certain points of this map. Say, for example, this point is a gas station. Once I have liberated the gas station from the enemies, you can take control of this point. You flip on this point's resources, and this will actively give you income. You do have to go back to that point and take the income from the gas station, but you will passively be getting money from it. The catch is that enemies can come back and retake this point from you. The game will alert you when this is happening, but if you're on the other side of the map, well, you're gonna have to go all the way back over there if you want it. There's no punishment if you lose it other than just not getting that money anymore and having to restart that money from scratch because they take all the money. Basically, they rob your gas station and take it for themselves. You're also able to upgrade these points. However, the upgrades are so ungodly expensive that I never bothered even trying any of this. Like, this would have taken so many hours of grinding just to get one upgrade, so it's not even worth talking about. Like, cool, I can get NPCs to defend the gas station for me, but for that amount of money, I'm gonna be playing for like 20 hours. So yeah, these numbers definitely need to be dialed down quite a bit. It at least makes sense why the developer calls this an economy survival game, which sounds like really weird English, but yeah, that's what this game is. Controlling the points aren't necessarily what I remember though. What I remember is just exploring this map. Coming across this abandoned building, wandering in and seeing what loot I can find, maybe a new gun, maybe I need some water, maybe I need food. Probably not, I was mainly just looking for guns, but still, it captured this part of a survival game incredibly well. I also frequently heard a plane above me, and at first I was concerned. I didn't know what it meant, I didn't know if it was going to attack me, I didn't know if it was going to drop enemies on me, but no, it was none of those things. It did drop something, but it wasn't airdrop. A box that contains a bunch of really good loot. Not exactly a new idea, but it's a welcome one, because if you track it down, you're going to get a bunch of new guns that you've probably never used before. There will definitely also be enemies around it, so come prepared. You'll also probably want to know where the shops are. Thankfully, they're marked on the map, because you have limited space in your backpack. So you're definitely going to need to sell some stuff for the shops to make space. And also, you know, they're shops, so they sell guns and resources as well. Speaking of guns, there's quite a few of them in this game, and it's hard to describe the gunplay. It's got those stiff yet fairly detailed reloading animations that you would only see in a game like, say, Stalker or Metro or even Far Cry 2 a little bit. The recoil sort of jerks your entire screen up, and yeah, I think Far Cry 2, Stalker, Metro, that's kind of like the best comparison as far as how the gunplay feels. This game also strives to be a little more realistic when it comes to picking up different weapons. They are going to be using their own ammo types that they would use in the real world, so keep that in mind. You have a ton of 5.45 ammo and you pick up a saw but have no 5.56 ammo? Well, too bad, you need to get some 5.56 ammo. I don't want to discuss all of these weapons because there's quite a few of them. I would be here all day, that would be a pain to edit. What I will mention though is that I didn't get a chance to mess with all of them by the time I got done playing this game. In fact, the main menu shows a scorpion and I never saw that anywhere, never in any shops, I never found it walking around. So there's quite a few to choose from. And since this loot is kind of random, everyone's going to get different weapons, and again, everyone will have a different experience. This game also does that thing I love where it allows me to use a machine pistol as a secondary instead of being stuck to just a wimpy little semi-auto. Because, well, yes, you will have a primary that's maybe an M4 or an AK or a PKP or a SAW or something like that. Your secondary could be a Glock 18 or a Mac 10 or even an AEK SMG, which is very rarely seen in games, and I love seeing rare guns like this. Though I do want to point out that the Kar 98 I picked up is hilariously overpowered. It's 100% accurate, it kills in one shot. Like, once you pick it up, you kind of don't have much reason to use anything else. I forced myself to because it gets stale using one gun and nothing else, but it definitely could use a little bit of a nerf, like maybe only killing in one shot to the head and requiring 2 to the body. But yeah, I definitely approve of the gunplay in this game. You have a wide selection and it feels satisfying enough. The enemy selection could use a little bit of work though. All the base soldiers are the same, that's fine, but you're going to be fighting them for vast majority of the game. You will occasionally be attacked by wolves, but that's the only wildlife. And again, you do occasionally get attacked by mutants, and that's it. Like, seriously, those are the only 3 enemies in the game. I think adding a ton more wildlife and adding in quite a few more mutants would liven this game up a lot. But this is early access, so maybe that's what they plan to do. In fact, there's even a part of the map that you can't go to yet because it's not done. But the rest of the map is big enough, so I can't really complain. As I mentioned earlier, this game also does have multiplayer. From what I can tell, it's the same as the single player, except for you can have 5 other people join in your lobby. You can't see where they are on the map, but they can take over your resources. And if you capture, say, the city, and they start taking over the city, it will alert you that they are taking that city from you. You just don't know where they'll be. So yeah, that's Anarchy Wolf's Law. It's interesting because it has a bunch of different things from a bunch of different games, yet tends to feel totally unique from all of those other games. For only $15, I can say it's definitely worth the money. It's not a must-play by any means, but it's far from bad. In fact, it was pretty relaxing. I streamed this game on my birthday, and I chose this game specifically for that. It looked like a game where I could read my chat more often while playing. This isn't to say you won't have moments where you're coming close to dying, because you definitely can't have those moments, but it's not a game that requires your full attention 24/7 like, say, Doom Eternal. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this game. Just like how I would definitely recommend today's sponsor, IntoTheAM. Again, check that link down below, IntoTheAM.com/dragonshirts if you want 10% off site-wide and the deals I mentioned before. Of course, I want to give a huge thanks to everyone that gave me all those birthday wishes. That was a awesome stream. My Twitch is twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos at least 1 week ahead of time. Seriously, I don't know how to say thank you when it comes to something like that without it sounding not genuine. I really do appreciate all the birthday wishes. Everyone was just spamming chat and on Twitter and everywhere. It means a lot to me. By the time this video goes live, that'll be like 2 weeks ago. I'm recording this on my birthday on the 9th. And of course, I want to thank you for watching this video.